to just get him counseling and alcohol treatment because he was drinking pretty bad that night, evidently too. But not to put him in jail, not to put him in D-home. He didn't mean to kill Brian. I remember after that seeing his car down at a fast food place where he's working, evidently. And I used to love to go there and eat. I couldn't go there ever again. To this day, I've never been able to go back there. It took me years to be able to drive down that street where it happened. That evidently he moved out to California and he's doing fine now. And I remember sending messages with a part of the gang to go talk to Bob and tell him, do not commit suicide. Do not finish the job, otherwise Brian would die in vain. And they sent the message, and evidently he listened to it. And so, because he didn't die in vain. Any other questions? Anything else?
Do you think that maybe the black he saw could have been hell? Because talk about in the Bible where it was hell is pitch black and he's gnashing his teeth and stuff, and you can't see anything. Or do you think?
Good question. I always thought of hell as fire and brimstone. I really. Maybe it is. I don't know. That's all I know is you don't want to go there. Yeah.
Jamie, you know, when people are totally dead, that's when God talks to them. And one thing that in my mind I kept saying, God, why did you do this? Why did you do it? I didn't want to know anything except why. And again, he said, don't ask if you don't want to know. He took me to that black place, and it scared me worse than anything in the whole world. If you close your eyes, you see black, but it's worse than that. It's thick. It has mass.
Yeah.
It suffocates you. It's black, and you have all your conscience, you have all your thoughts, everything, but you can't see anything, and you can't reach anybody. You're totally alone.
Yeah.
And God said to me, Tony, this is why Brian died, to keep somebody from being here. And he didn't show me who that somebody was, but you know what I said? I said, thank you, God. Thank you for taking him, because that is the most horrible, horrible thing you can ever imagine. And I can't, even like Hitler, I couldn't hate anybody enough to want them to be there. And so, yes, it's hell. It's a total absence of God. Jesus is the light of the world, and there is no light that can permeate that blackness.
That's right. Wow, yeah, that's right. That's what I wanted to say. Any other questions? Denise.
You said there was another time you got mad, and maybe you remember.
Oh, yeah. That was when my mother died. She had colon cancer. She was the light of many lives. She was very close to God. And, just a joy to be with, just joy to hear her laugh. She raised all 7 of us kids. As my dad died back in Pittsburgh when I was 4. She brought all 6 and a half kids. Jenny wasn't even born yet. Came out to Albuquerque to raise us. And she She knew God was real. She brought a lot of, I think a lot of people close to God because they saw that God in her. And I never felt poor, but I know we were because we didn't have any money. I always felt rich. I always felt like everything was going to be okay all the time. Because Mom felt that way. She felt God was going to take care of us. And she did. And they did. And she... and I was real close to her. Anytime I could always talk to her and she'd bring me out of my funk or whatever it is and remind me that God's real. Although I didn't really believe it that much at that time. And I was at the hospital out here in San Diego by her bedside. And then they had her on a feeding tube. Or no, she wouldn't have a feeding tube. And I saw her in pain and so shriveled up. And she wasn't the mother I remembered being so happy and cuddling with. And laying there looking at her, and I remember getting mad at God for just a minute, though. Because then I said, "Thank you, God," again. She died. That night she died. I came home and she died. But I remember said, "Thank you, God," again. Any other questions?
Okay, question.
Rob.
My wife, Kathy, her sister had a son, died in a tragic accident, probably about a year ago or less. Is there anything you would say to somebody that lost a child that you could give them encouragement in circumstances such as that?
Yeah. You gotta kick in that attitude of gratitude for having the child. The only way to get rid of that ache, and she's got an ache inside her that's unimaginable. You can't comprehend the ache that she has. And the only way I found to alleviate that ache was to say, "Thank you, God," every time I had the ache. And it went away. Eventually, it went, but that's how I got over the ache. That's what I tell her to do, is to thank God for that child. Just every time she gets that ache inside, say, "Thank you, God," right away. And that's turning it over to God is what she's doing. And it's no longer her problem again. And she'll take it back, of course. But it's turning it over to God and saying, "Thank you, God," again. That type of thing. That's about it. Anything else? Anybody? That's it. Oh, Dolores.
Well, I just wanted to thank you and Tony so much for sharing your story with us. And I know it has helped all of us and will help many others as we tell them your story.
Yeah, but this is all your story too now. Anybody else?